Good morning. Let's see if I'm live on Instagram. Bear with me, guys, as I'm getting myself live. You know the drill. You know the drill. If you listen to me, you know I got to get myself live on all the platforms. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Happy Friday. Monday, Friday, Tuesday. What day is it today? When you work for yourself, you don't even know what day of the week it is anymore. I am really excited to talk about today's topic. I want to start by saying this is not going to be a episode where all I do is talk about how macro tracking is bad, because I do use macros in my program. But I want to help you guys understand where and how to apply it the right way. And honestly, what might be keeping you guys stuck. So if you guys are watching and you are live, how many of you guys track your food or track your macros or have tracked macros in the past? Or even if you're listening to the replay, I would love to know if you are a former macro tracker, current macro tracker, living the macro life, if it fits your macros. Oh, we're going to talk all about this today. And if you guys are interested, at the end of the episode, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the accelerator program that I have created. If you've done one of my jump starts in the past, I just want you to know this is kind of going to be a revamped version of this. I guesstimate, honestly, Tessa, that is the way you should be doing it. And I will explain when and how you should be dialing things in more if you so need to. But I'm going to be honest, most people don't need macros. In fact, the majority of my most successful clients, I rarely have to adjust their calories and their macros, very rarely. So we really only have to address mostly based off of feedback, but I am pretty good at hitting the nail on the head and getting them results without ever having to really focus too much on numbers when I get underneath the hood and figure out why a person has to be so unbelievably controlled with their food. So we're going to get all into that today. So if you are a macro tracker, or maybe you're avoiding it because you're like, I do not want to get obsessed with numbers. I have spent my life maybe trying things and I don't want to get this to be one more thing that I try and doesn't work and it seems like a lot of effort. And I totally feel you. In fact, there was a time in my life where I did not track my food at all. And I want to say I was happy, but I really wasn't happy because I had just found other ways to control my food that wasn't related to calories and macros. But today, I honestly want to speak to you if you are somebody who honestly you have goals for yourself. That's likely why you are trying to track your food, or why you're even considering it, or why you saw this pop up and you're like, oh, the problem. Yes, the problem I have is I don't like the way that I look. I feel uncomfortable in my body. I don't feel like I'm eating enough. I feel low on energy, but I'm also scared to eat enough. I know that there are some things in my nutrition that I need to change, and macro tracking just seemed like the right pull, or the right plug to pull, or the right lever to pull. And I want to go over some of the things that maybe you are not paying attention to that could actually be more effective than just focusing on the numbers. So let me roll back up and get back into my notes here so I can make sure I don't get too far off topic. Now, as I mentioned, today's episode is not going to be here. I'm not here to bash macros. Like I said, macronutrients are a part of your diet. In fact, anybody that tells you that you don't need to track macros is lying to you. It's just the level of precision that some people take macro tracking to is unbelievably unnecessary. And when you're only focusing on numbers, you are going to get yourself lost in a sea of number Tetris every single day and never actually building that trust with your body again. And we're going to get all into this. I don't want to, it's very easy for me to jump ahead because I have such a passion for what I do and helping women and men become a more confident version of themselves, not just by how they look, but how they are actually operating in life to achieve that body. And I want to start by saying that macros are, well, I should say macro tracking, food tracking is a tool. It's not the solution. Okay, so first and foremost, you guys at this point likely already know what macronutrients are, and macronutrients are a part of your diet, no matter whether you're tracking them or not. Whenever you're eating food, you're eating macronutrients. Just like when you put gas in your tank, whether or not you measure how much gas is going in, you are still putting gas in the tank, right? You're putting oil in the oil reservoir, whatever it is, or water in the water reservoir. Those are things and products going into your car, regardless of if you are tracking them or not. I like using a car as an analogy because I do think it's very similar to how our body operates. But tracking your food and tracking your macronutrients and paying attention to them can be a great way for you to build awareness as what is coming or going into your body based on what your body is naturally gravitating towards. It teaches awareness. It teaches you portion sizes. It helps you understand the composition of the foods you're consuming and helps you dial in the amount of food that you should be eating in order for you to achieve better body composition. And I will say this, there is a lot of nuance and hyper-focused fixations on like the right macro splits. When it comes down to the right macro splits, what matters most is what you're going to be most compliant with and what is going to allow you to feel the best in your day, having the most energy and feel the most satiated. Aside from that, you could be higher fat, lower carb, or lower fat, higher carb. It doesn't really matter as long as you're getting enough protein in and you're controlling your overall calories. But what macros don't really teach you is if you're only ever focusing on numbers, I'll talk about how numbers can actually help you in life, but if you're only ever focusing on numbers, it doesn't really help you navigate real life because that becomes very, very, very cumbersome when you are trying to navigate, when you don't have control over your food. If somebody is preparing your food for you, or you have to go on vacation and you don't really know what you're going to be eating and you want to be able to relax a little bit. It doesn't really teach you, like when you don't have the opportunity to be able to perfectly macro something, how to actually stay consistent. And I think it's so important for you to realize that your body eats food and understanding how to look at your food as a source of a specific macronutrient and not focusing so much on the number component of that and looking at portion sizes instead. And this is why tracking your food at home can be very helpful for you because it does allow you to get more in tune with what portions look like. But a lot of you, you're perfectionists and you think you have to be so dialed into every gram. Everything has to be perfectly weighed and measured. And when you can't do those things, it feels hard. So you only can follow the plan when it's perfect, or you tend to go off the plan and feel like you have to start all over again. And the goal of today is to explain to you how this is just one lever to be pulling in your entire journey, and focusing solely on this is why you are likely stuck, because there is a lot more to your body composition, to your health, than your macronutrient count. Okay. This is where I'm going to go into part number 2. Your lifestyle matters. Okay. So you can go online and you can find a macro calculator, and it's going to tell you based on your age, height, weight, your activity level, how many calories and macros you should be eating for fat loss, for maintenance, and all that kinds of stuff. But not every person's life is super dialed in and consistent from day to day. And it's impossible to predict that because there's a number of things that could be impacting how you're showing up every single day. In fact, this week I'm having a little bit of a rough week myself and I don't feel my best, so that is likely going to be impacting a little bit of my energy needs because I have been a little bit, sluggish. I haven't been feeling as good, but that doesn't mean I'm going to pull back on my calories and my macros either. It's knowing, hey, maybe my body's actually asking me for more. So, but this is where it's so important to realize that there's no actual algorithm or calculator that is going to tell you what your body needs. Every week isn't the same. You're going to have vacations. Kids are going to have things coming up. You're going to have work stress. You're going to have travel. Ladies and men, your hormones are going to fluctuate, and that's going to cause a lot of things. You're going to have weeks where you have better sleep, days where you've had poor digestion. You're going to have periods in your life where you want to maintain and you don't want to be so dialed in, and periods of life where you're actually trying to dial things in to get somewhere. There's different goals you might have for yourself. Are you trying to lose body fat? Are you trying to build more muscle? Are you focusing more on recovery from your training? Are you trying to compete? Do you have a competition coming up? It's where you have to be able to adapt your nutrition. Okay. My goal with my clients isn't for me to tell them exactly how much to eat. It's truly to get you to build more trust that when I'm telling you to do something, it's building that trust. Like you probably already had that intuition that was the next lever to pull, but needed my guidance to say, yep, that's the right lever to pull. And I want you to start to trust yourself with that stuff. And this is where coaching comes in. And this actually brings me into number 3. I did a great job with this outline today. Okay. you truly do not trust yourself. And I was there at one point for a long time. Even after I transitioned to counting calories and macros, I was never a perfect macro tracker in my entire life. I've never been somebody that's been super dialed in. I've always been over and under on numbers. And I don't believe in being perfect on numbers. But I still had a period of time where I didn't truly trust myself. I didn't truly trust that if I was hungry, I should eat a little bit more. I was basically telling myself that my body was lying to me when your body doesn't lie to you. Your body is telling you something, especially when you have a super dialed in lifestyle, right? And it's really interesting because most women will trust MyFitnessPal, Macros First, your coach, what somebody else tells you rather than trusting your own intuition. And that is why you are so stuck. It's why you haven't figured it out yet. It's why you have all of this knowledge and you have not been able to actually apply it to you because you don't fully trust yourself. You're reading it, you're hearing it, but you don't trust yourself. You're constantly asking, should I be eating more? Am I eating too much? Should I eat less? Why am I not making progress? What should I be doing differently? Was I hungry? Am I actually hungry? I just ate. Should I eat again? Can I have dessert? If I had dessert last night, should I have it tonight? Are these foods bad or good? When should I be timing my meals? You have all of these thoughts rather than actually listening to what your body is saying. And that is the missing piece for a lot of you. There's no actual blend between intent and intuition, right? We need to have both in order for you to be successful at building a body that you can actually maintain. Because if you are constantly living to eat intentionally and never getting back into intuitively, you will burn out or you will start to have negative repercussions from that because you are likely going to be underfeeding yourself or maybe overfeeding yourself and going in the other direction. Okay. So I don't want you to learn how to eat based off of what I'm telling you or what an app is telling you. I want you to learn how to eat to get to the goal. I want you to be committed to the goal you have for yourself and to see it through. And I want to help you understand what to expect in that phase, but also getting you to a place where we are going to get you into a place of maintenance. Your body does not just eat macros. Okay. This is so important. When you're going into maintenance, when you're in fat loss, your body needs more than just macros. Macros is a piece of the puzzle. All right. Yes, I can very easily tell you that we can drop 30 grams of carbs and 10 grams of fat, and you're going to be in more of a deficit. But I also know that if that person is eating a highly processed diet, if I tell them to switch to more whole foods, I might be able to get them eating more nutrients, not drop calories and macros, and they actually might see faster fat loss because now their body is actually operating with more nutrients. It's why somebody can diet on 1,200 calories and feel great and 1,200 calories and feel like shit. Not that anybody wants to diet on 1,200 calories, but it does happen sometimes. Your body needs more than just calories and macros. All right. If all we're doing is eating by numbers, you are never going to develop a healthy relationship with food and a plan that is actually sustainable for you. You have to actually be intentional about making food changes outside of just calories and macros. Otherwise, it is just another fad diet. That's all it would be. It'd be another fad diet if all you're doing is focusing on numbers. Okay. Micronutrients matter, fiber, meal quality, food variety, foods you enjoy, and making sure that you're getting in all of those nutrients that your body needs to actually thrive. Okay. So it is going to help you so much more when you're eating by foods rather than eating by numbers. And you're just dialing in the amounts of foods a little bit differently, right? So it's kind of, yes, we're not focusing on macros, we're tracking macros, but in reverse. That becomes a byproduct of you changing your diet, okay? So, and this is where I want to kind of get into the goal of my program. If you're going to join in with the accelerator, okay? I want you to learn how to stop outsourcing your food decisions. Yes, the majority of people that work with me for at least 6 to 12 months. Why? Because they have spent who knows how many years not actually truly knowing how to eat for their body. They have been eating intuitively, and that has gotten them into a place of where they're at right now. And then we're going to eat intentionally for a period of time to get them to their goal. That's not going to be intuitive to maintain, right? It takes time to rebuild that trust factor and getting you learning how to actually trust your body again. Or you spend the rest of your life literally having to eat intentionally and always having to worry about micromanaging numbers. This is something that some women can live with and be okay, right? Some people are like, yeah, I'm totally fine just like eating by numbers the rest of my life. But that's also not very sustainable for somebody that does also want to be able to not have to stress about, it's the middle of the day and you're stressed out and all you want to do is put lunch together. And you don't want to have to think about, am I going to be perfectly hitting my macros at the end of the day, right? Like that's not going to help you at all. And it's also not necessary. All right. So my goal is to help you rebuild that trust that you can actually learn how to make the decisions for yourself. That is confidence, right? Like your body is what you're looking to change, but the way you show up in your body is what's going to make it sustainable for you, is making sure that you are a better decision maker, a more confident decision maker. This is where we can actually, so going into like the final phase of my program, I will typically have my clients start to not track. They'll like write things down as they go and then track at the end of the day and see where their numbers fall. Because the goal is to actually make sure that they're building meals that they can actually recognize. This is what it looks like to have a balanced meal. I also know what it feels like when my body's asking me for a little bit more, and I can add that on top and not feel stressed about it. Okay. I want you to actually visualize and understand what your meals should look like. So, and I think that the hard thing for a lot of people is to shift this mindset of like, does that mean I have to eat the same thing for the rest of my life every day? No, but you should have consistent meal rotations, just like every family does, right? You probably remember the same meal rotation that your mom cooked on repeat every single week. You probably have a rotation of breakfasts and lunches that you ate on repeat every single week. You probably have the foods you normally like to order at restaurants. It's learning how to retrain those things and build something that actually works to work with the body that you want. Knowing how to eat on vacation, which by the way, eating on vacation should be about enjoying yourself, not worrying about losing or gaining progress, because at the end of the day, your vacation is a vacation from life. And that might also be working on yourself as well. Like literally check out. I want my clients to check out on vacation. That is empowerment. Somebody that comes back knowing what their next move is, and they don't have to sit there and micromanage their food while they're actually just trying to enjoy themselves. Okay. Now, here is something that I think is so important for you to think about. If you're somebody that struggles with tracking your food, or it feels like it becomes obsessive, you likely are going into this realm of, like I'm talking about, the person that's constantly thinking about numbers and not thinking about the purpose of tracking and looking at the other things that you should be committing to. And one of the things that you should really ask yourself, and I'm going to challenge you in this accelerator, is what commitments and promises are you making for yourself? And are you keeping those promises and commitments to yourself? This is not about, I tracked my food today. It's, I ate the right things for me to get the body that I want, or I ate the right things to nourish my body in a way that's going to give me the strength and the performance and the energy that I need to show up in my life with energy, right? Like that's really what we're looking at. I moved my body today the way my body needs to move to feel good. I actually got out in the sun. I actually did a workout. I lifted some weights. I did the things. I'm making time to plan for my food, not just plan for my family's food. I'm making the time to prioritize making sure that I have lunches prepped, not just making sure that I have the notes prepped for my meeting. Like I'm actually doing the things to show up for myself and not just focusing on everything else in life. That is how you actually make success happen. And I know you know that because you're very successful in other areas of your life. Okay. But it's asking yourself, what commitments are you making to yourself, along with what commitments are actually moving the needle closer to your goals, right? So if your goals are, I want to get a little bit leaner, I want to feel good, I want to drop 15 to 20 pounds, I need to be making sure that I'm controlling my calorie intake in a way that gives me as much energy as possible and allows me to lift the way that I need to lift to be able to build muscle, right? I want to feel good in my day. What commitments do you need to make to making that happen? It might be tracking your food, right? And making sure that you're using a food scale and making sure that you're doing those things temporarily because you are on a path. You are on a war path to get to that goal, right? And the goal isn't to get there just to lose it. It's to get there and know how to transition into maintenance. This is the stuff that you need to think about, not what numbers do I need to hit today, right? Like this is the stuff that matters most. All right. Now, the last piece here that I'm going to talk about, well, I shouldn't say the last piece, but I have a couple more pieces, is you have to know what phase you are in. Okay. So if you're listening to all of this and you're like, yeah, all right, I am ready to lose fat, but I also want to be able to maintain it. And it feels like I can't seem to maintain it. Okay. You have to know what phase you're in, and you have to know what identity shifts you have to have in that. So the person who loses 15 pounds has shifted a lot of the beliefs she has about herself or he has about himself from when he first started or when she first started. And if you want to maintain, it means you have to keep shifting those beliefs, right? It's a constant work in progress. You're constantly learning how to rewire your brain to become somebody different. And I'm not saying that you're going to be a completely different person, right? You're going to still have the same core values, the same family, and the relationships you have, but you're going to show up different. You are. You're going to show up differently, but you got to know what phase you're in. Are you in that fat loss phase? Are you in the phase of rebuilding trust that you can maintain? Are you in the maintenance phase and feeling like you need to rebuild trust that you don't have to be tracking your food, that you know how to eat balanced meals? Are you in a building phase? What does your body need right now? And also knowing how to adjust based on different seasons of your life. Again, the tracking is a tool. So let's just say it's summertime. I'm walking 12 to 14,000 steps a day because it feels good to be outside. I'm working out, I'm sweating a ton, all of this stuff, right? But then maybe winter hits and steps go down to 5 or 6K. You're only working out 3 or 4 times a week because it's cold, it's dark. Do you know how to make adjustments to your nutrition to work with that change in your life? You shouldn't need a coach or a calculator to show you that. You should be able to make adjustments based off of where you're currently at and making small strategic changes to those things. Okay. So I don't want you to become somebody who is really good at dieting. In fact, I was going to make a post about this, but I haven't yet today. Women that live lean don't diet. We're like never dieting or cutting. It's literally lifestyle. This is how we live our lives, and that's it. And there are some women, I'm going to be honest, that literally live on a diet, which is miserable. I've been there before, but the majority of women are like, no, I just feel like I have control over my body and I don't have to control my body. Like that's how it should feel. I want you to be somebody that feels that way, that feels totally in line with how you're showing up every single day, not constantly trying to micromanage your food. Okay. All right. So can I kind of step into the last piece here before we kind of talk a little bit more about the accelerator? So I kind of already mentioned this, but the fat loss phase. I know that that's what most of you guys are looking for. You might be like, yes, I want to lose 15 to 20 pounds, but the goal is to never have to lose that weight again. And that's why I really want you guys, if you are a macro tracker, to kind of look at why that has not worked for you. Why are you still stuck, right? So you're either stuck and not making any progress because of how you're going about your tracking. And we can go into a whole nother episode on that, or you're not able to maintain it because you're always focusing on, I'm going to get to the goal. I'm going to get to the goal. And it's always chasing the goalpost. And then when the goalpost isn't there anymore, you fizzle out and you don't know how to shift, right? So the woman who knows how to maintain her results will always outperform the woman who's constantly chasing another fat loss phase. I want you to never have to lose weight again. As somebody who lost and gained weight in my 20s and even in my early 30s, I am happy to say that I feel like I know what I need to do and how I need to shift if life changes. And does that mean it's always going to be easy? No, it's not always going to be easy. But I feel like I have enough control and I have the tools that I can stay in control of my body the best that I can to work with it, not against it. Even if my body composition does change, I'm going to change it in a way that works with my body. Okay. So if you are listening to all of this, I, again, just want to put a plug out there. I literally just opened up registration today. This is by application only. Okay. If you are looking for a set of macros, this is not the program for you. Okay. Yes, we are going to talk about calories and macros. I'm going to make sure that you guys are set up with knowing how much you should be eating. But the goal is to develop confidence in being somebody who understands yourself, understands your body, understands your lifestyle, understands your habits, understands how you make decisions, understands the patterns you are stuck in. Because when you understand those things, you can actually apply all of the nutrition tools and stop starting over, right? When you understand how your body actually operates and how your brain thinks, that is going to take you away from feeling so stressed about your nutrition and actually feel like nutrition is just one more thing you handle in your day, right? That is what is so important for you to understand. If you want to join the program, like I said, it is by application only. I'm keeping this limited because I want to be able to provide smaller, intimate group. There is an application out there. When you fill in your application, I will be reviewing it. I'll ask you a couple of questions if I have any questions, and go ahead and get you signed up for the program. It does start in August. It's going to be 21 days. You don't have to tell me. You can tell me, I don't want to hear, oh, but I have this trip program the weekend of the 12th through the 13th. Like, I don't care about your trips, because again, we are looking at building a plan that allows you to understand how you make decisions and how you operate in your life. This is not about how much weight you lose in 3 weeks. If that's what you're looking for, this is not the program for you. This program is for women who are truly looking to change their body. You want to show up better. You want to feel better. You want to see results that actually stick. So if that's you, you want to sign up. The link is going to be in the show notes. If you're listening live on Instagram, let me see if anybody had any questions on here. If you're listening live on Instagram, you can also just shoot me over a message. Just shoot me over either Accelerator, or just tell me like you want to join in on the program, and I will send you over the link directly via DM. So does anybody have any other questions or anything to answer today that I could answer for you? Anything else going on before I sign off? All right, then I'm going to sign off, and I look forward to hopefully meeting some of you guys in the Accelerator. Bye.